Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we have, who are you again?
Alex Cooper.
Alex Cooper in the house.
That's it. Welcome.
And he's
Thank
going to
you.
tell us about what it was like to swim the Bosphorus. So nice to have you here today, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
So Alex, tell us, what made you want to swim this and it's called a Bosphorus?
The Bosphorus. Truth is, what's your name?
Simon.
Simon. The truth is, Simon, I didn't. But my sister, who's just had a baby last Thursday, said that she wanted to do a challenge with me before she had a kid. And both me and her have done challenges before, so...
Wait, she swam pregnant?
No. This was before...
Sorry.
It's her partner as well, so she's in a same-sex couple, so it was before her partner got pregnant.
Okay.
She wanted to do a challenge with me, and we've been talking about it for a long time. We were thinking about trying to pedalo across the channel. That was one particular idea. But yeah, it sort of came to us because she... a couple of years ago, about 9 years ago, me and my friends cycled from Paris to the Med, and then my sister a few years ago now was going through some stuff, and she walked from John O'Groats to Bristol for charity, and she got through what she needed to get through on that walk. And so we wanted to do something together that was going to push us, and she lives by the coast, and she was living in Hove at the time. Now she lives around Shoreham, and so we thought about doing swimming. And I love the story goes that she basically said last 2 Christmases ago, Alex, how do you feel about doing a challenge? And she said it's a ballot. And I thought that was kind of like the Wimbledon ballot, you know, so the odds of getting in were slim. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then when I asked her about a month later, I was like, what are the odds of us getting the ballot? And she said 95%. So basically it's not really a ballot. So we got in, had to do some medical tests. And then we had
the medical test?
Like, we had to just make sure that we were going to be fit enough to swim the Bosphorus, because it's 6.5 kilometers between Europe and Asia, and
Probably cold.
do you know what? It's actually all right. It's all right, and it was beautiful sea despite it being a shipping lane. No, just swimming shorts.
There's no sharks. You know, wait, Bosphorus is a lake, isn't it? So there's
No, it's a strait between two seas, so it's between the Mediterranean and I think, I don't know. But it is technically part of the sea, I think. But yeah, so we started training individually. So I was swimming in London Fields Lido 3-4 times a week. No, 3 times a week. I'm lying to you. 3 times a week, and then just slowly building up my
that 50-meter pool,
stamina. Yeah, 50-meter pool. So I was kind of started, I think, at like 1 kilometer. Started going up to 2, 3. 4, then did a big one which was like 5.5, something like that, and I ended up buying some underwater headphones because it gets pretty boring. Yeah. Pretty boring.
I've got them. Have you got the bone?
Yes, mate.
Yeah,
I've got those.
Very good. I wear them when I'm jogging now.
Do you?
Or cycling.
They're great.
Because if you're cycling, you can still hear. You're just like you can hear more than one sound, isn't it? You can hear the normal sound, car horn, someone's coming up behind you.
Exactly.
And then you still got but I don't listen to music, I listen to motivational stuff.
Do you?
Like David Goggins. Come on, you bitch! You're gonna cock out me now! You know, kind of thing, you know. It gives you enticement to crack on.
He's got a particular style, doesn't he? That's suited for that. Yeah, no, I was listening to the TED Radio Hour. Have you ever heard of the TED Radio Hour?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's not a TED Talk, but TED Talks.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a podcast where they pick a theme, and then they'll invite people who have done TED Talks on the theme to talk about all the different aspects of this particular thing. So, for example, there's one on happiness. So they speak to a guy who practices the art of gratitude. So he basically went back and spoke to... For his morning coffee... He realizes that there's more than one person involved in the making of his morning coffee. You know, it's not just the barista, it's the person that brings it over, you know, all the way back to the coffee plantations. So he was on a mission to basically say thank you to everybody in that process. It's really cool.
So he just goes back to
who's your
supplier,
traced it back and said thank you to all of them. And he said the person that gave him the most gratitude...
The plantation...
No, it was actually the person who ran vermin control at one of the coffee warehouses because they never get thanked, you know. Because there's a lot of sexy jobs probably in the making of coffee.
Like the man from
Vermin
Vermont
control in the
could-
warehouse is not top of the list.
It is the most important.
It's one of the most important,
Think
yeah.
about it, because there's no point having the beans if they're covered with
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
that's it. Well, some people even, you know, there's civet coffee, which is where a civet eats it and excretes it, and then people buy that.
Wait a minute. What's a civet?
A civet is an animal. It's a kind of... Oh, I don't know what kind of animal it is. It's like a cross between... I love the way this conversation's going.
I know, it's just gone to straight off the thing of
Civet poo. A civet is a... I think I want to say it's like a
Four-legged
like a stoat or a weasel, or maybe from that family, from that genus.
So it doesn't digest it. It just has it in.
Doesn't digest it, but then poos it out, and apparently it's really good coffee. I don't know how that
Who
was.
found that out?
Do you know what? It wasn't me.
Who thought, I don't want the beans over here. I want that covered
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah. There's not enough beans around at the moment. I want to see what that civet's just.
Special one, isn't it?
Yeah. Also because you have to be pretty sure that it is a coffee bean. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it's just poo.
Ooh.
You know.
I don't know. Listen, I bet they made a. You know what? That brings on to mind. There's some other food product, and they were saying, I think it's dates or something, and they said there's an acceptable amount of cockroaches.
Really?
Yeah, in dates or in things that they just said, yeah, fair enough. As long as it's not over like 15%,
Mm.
then you're good to go.
As long as it's not. Who decides that
No,
figure?
I'm not sure if it's dates. It's some product that is quite common here.
Who decides like 15%?
I don't know, maybe the
As if that's
health
like.
board.
Do you know what? I think everybody's going to be cool with that. And you're like, I think 16 feels way too much, but
Yeah,
15,
like,
I think
not
people are going to be.
16, but 50.
Yeah, because dates aren't cheap, are they?
Nah,
Especially not knowing that maybe 85% of them are cockroach based.
yeah. But I was in Tanzania, and so we've got onto dates now, totally.
Yeah, let's
And
go on to dates.
They offloaded the dates in the market. So obviously Tanzania is very Islamic on the coast.
Mm.
And it's Ramadan time like now, and there's just cockroaches everywhere in these dates, and people are just picking them still.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, okay, okay.
Would you?
Nope.
Would you eat a cockroach?
If I was in the goulash or something, maybe I would. I'd eat all the protein I can get, innit?
Yeah, I love that.
But generally, I like to. Adam, you can. I have a theory. You can eat anything if you have the right amount of hot sauce.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So going back to
The swimming, yeah. Sorry, where were we?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was incredible actually, because we both trained, and I loved it for the reason that, I'll be totally honest with you, I'm in pretty good shape, but I'm not a gym head, and going to the pool every like 2 or 3 times a week, I started to recognize how or why some people start to look at themselves in the mirror in gyms. I was never that guy, but like swimming is great for your physique, isn't it?
It pulls your stomach in very quickly.
Yeah, and your shoulders. I started to develop shoulders. I never really had those before.
A funny thing was, I was doing weights. I changed gym. I go to Nutfield Gym because I love to swim.
Yeah.
They all have pools, and there's a lot of them dotted around London. So in this job, I can stop anywhere. But on the Instagram came up the free pass to do fitness first. So I thought, I'll do that. But they don't have pools at very few of their gyms. And I started to do weights, and I thought, well, I'll just stretch off in the sauna and steam room. But after a week, no, I went back to swimming at my normal gym. I couldn't. There's lots of movements I couldn't do. And I realised that if you're really gonna do swimming like professionally or push yourself, you can't be doing weights at the same time in there, like any kind of development form. You just need to do kind of density, light, but more high reps but light.
I'm saying I don't know what you mean, but only because I'm not that savvy with gym etiquette. Like,
instead of trying to push 100
yeah,
and 100 kilograms,
yeah,
you just push 40 kilograms.
Push 40 because you're already exerting yourself
Well,
through swimming.
Not that. You need to keep the movement flexibility of for the swimming, but 40 is quite easy.
Yeah.
So you're just pushing it fast. But
Yeah.
you're building the density instead of the mass. The mass constricts you in what you're trying to do. So let's say when I go to do backstroke, I can't get my bicep to my ear on the turn as I turn back.
I hear you.
If you're listening to a podcast, you can imagine how you swim backwards, backstroke wise. Yeah, so that was the dilemma for me.
Yeah.
So what was the full length of time you had to do?
Well, we did. So we went to Istanbul for the race, and it was 6.5 kilometers, and it didn't actually take us that long. I think part of our training, like we did it in an hour 15, which is pretty good. There's a current there as well. It's part of Swim Trek's swim challenge, so you can swim all kinds of different challenges around Europe and the world, I think. There's one in the Dardanelles, which I think is the oldest swim race in the world, but this is pretty old. And the great thing is you swim from Europe to Asia, so you can actually claim that you've swum between 2 continents, which is pretty cool. But it took about an hour 15. It was quite a mad morning because they showed us kind of the race like track, day before. We did a boat trip where they showed us the course. That's the word I was looking for. And then on the day, it was about 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. And we got on these boats and they took us to the Asian side of Istanbul, where we were jumping off from. And basically, they then had like pumping rave music at like 8 in the morning to try and, pump you up. And then you all jumped in. You had to leg it off the boats and basically jump off this jetty into the water. It was incredible. But what was mad is that you're swimming, at the very beginning of the race, they told us you need to swim into the middle of the Bosphorus strait. Normally it's a shipping lane. They hold the ships for 2 hours while you do the course.
So you got 2 hours to 6.
2 hours to get it. Yeah.
You're gonna get churned up by a propeller.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. And what's incredible is that it's actually quite tricky before that, but when you get into the middle, there's a current, so it does make it a bit easier. But you need to make sure that you then get out at the right time as well, otherwise you'll be swept out kind of further past the point you need to finish. But it was amazing because, within a minute of being surrounded by everybody, you're swimming and you're looking around and there's nobody as far as you can see, even though there's about 2,000 people apparently in the water. Very quickly you disperse until you get to the end. So it just gives you a sense of the scale that I remember me and my sister looking around and thinking,
so you swam
we're the only
together?
people here. Yeah, we did, until she smoked me at the end. She has a better technique than I do, I think. She did some classes which I highly recommend because I didn't do them.
What classes did she do?
She did them down in Shoreham. She got a swimming coach, and it helped her a lot with her technique. And so I was trying to keep up with her, but it became increasingly obvious as we went on that she was better than I was and quicker.
It's like boxing, isn't it? On the day, if you haven't trained properly, it manifests because you get knocked out.
100%, it is. And she was consistently ahead of me, and then we just kind of, I think, we didn't say it, but made a mutual decision to just meet each other at the finish line. But it's insane because you're swimming down, Istanbul is like it's got a lot of to say it's got a lot of history is an understatement.
Ottoman, Roman.
It's the centre of the world, really. The West likes to think that it's the centre of the world, but really it's the centre of the world. And the start of the Silk Road, etc. The Ottoman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, it used to be Constantinople. Unbelievable. And that was just kind of incredible to see while we were there. But what's insane is swimming down the middle, and it was a beautiful day in August, and just looking on one side and there's mosques lining the bank on one side, and then on the other there's palaces, because basically every emperor, every sultan had to build a palace of their own, obviously, to prove they were the best and most powerful, etc. So opulent. And it was just amazing, to see that and to be in a totally different world and culture. I always think that about Turkey. It's like we're all part of Europe, but it just feels like you're in a different world. And I feel like London's very cosmopolitan, but when I went to Istanbul, it was cosmopolitan, but with entirely different races of people, if that makes sense. You know, there's a lot of people from Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Syria. It's just amazing.
When I was down there, what happened, we went across, we was on a boat, by the way, we went over into Asia, and everybody on the other side looked like very tanned, dark hair, and I said, where do these people come from? And I was really surprised, because obviously you're used to seeing somewhat pale, I'm not sure, you call Turks Europeans? They're not, are they?
They're part of Europe. Well, they're part of the EU. But
are they part of the EU?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're part of the EU, but they're also part of Asia, you know, because they've got two sides to the country that is in both camps. But it is interesting because they are very different, you know. I think the culture there was, I love it. I love kind of anywhere.
Diversity.
Hearing the call to prayer is just one of the most spiritual things. I think it just roots you into a different. And we went to the Hagia Sophia as well, the huge mosque.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. It's magic. It really is magic, actually. You can feel it from the place. I don't know if you felt it when you were there.
No, I did. And with that first call to prayer, I was walking down there with she wasn't my partner then, but that's where we met. We met in the Blue Mosque.
Oh, wow.
Looking in the Blue Mosque. We was on a university trip. I didn't know she was on a trip, but I did by the end. And the call to prayer, we was walking down, it's all lit up, and you hear the
magic.
And I was like, this is.
So you met your partner in the Blue Mosque in Istanbul?
Yeah. We was on a university trip. This is like 20 years ago.
That's a funny synchronicity, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we was all studying ancient construction.
You were studying ancient construction?
Yeah, ancient construction. Yeah.
What was your dissertation on?
Well, I did my dissertation on council estates and social development.
Wow.
And pointing out that you've got places like the Barbican, which is originally built as a council estate, that is doing very well and will probably never be knocked down. And it's got certain class of people, and it doesn't have all the concierge and all these security elements. And then you've got other estates that it's just, even if, you know, same kind of style and just riddled of crime. And I was talking to the caretakers, and the caretaker said, well, everybody owns their flat here in the Barbican, and if there's a bit of rubbish, they write a paper on it.
Wow.
He said, but in Peckham North Peckham estate, which is now gone.
Yeah, they're not going to be doing that.
No, it's guns, knives, drugs, prostitution, and all the rest of it. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it?
We've come to the end of our journey.
Yeah.
What I will ask you, Alex, is what have you learnt from your experience swimming the Bosphorus, and what would be your advice to somebody who wants to swim?
What I learnt is that we can do more than our minds tell us we can. Always. Our minds tell us what we already know. So I don't think it tries to find clues on the past to give you ideas of what will happen in the future. And if those are self-limiting or limiting, they can keep you a bit trapped. Whereas actually, by proving that you can do something like this, you know, even if it's a 5K, etc., anything to prove, to kind of beat your mind, I think builds confidence and self-esteem. And for anyone looking to try it, I'd say it's not a ballot. You will get in. And actually, to book it before your mind tells you you don't want to do it. Because if I waited for my mind to give me the 100% all clear green light before I did something, I'd never do anything.
Well, thanks a lot for that, and we wish you well.
Thank you.
We hope that episode enhanced your life. We post an interview every day, as well as vlogging on our social media channels. Don't forget to subscribe to get our latest episode.